This is my EIS paper. Should we choose bioindustry above biological farming? First of all, why this question? Well, the reason for this question was mostly the fact that I found this subject very interesting. I had read a few articles discussing the issue and it really appealed to me. It is also a very openly discussed issue in the Netherlands, and the opinions about it are very divided. Another reason for choosing this subject was my own lack of knowledge. I wasn't really aware of the real facts about the bioindustry. The last reason was to stop people their prejudices about the bioindustry because it may not be as bad as it seems. Arguments in favor. The bioindustry produces a lot of meat with low costs. This is a true fact. If a company can have either 20 animals or just two using the same space. Animals that live outside also have to control their own body temperature and they get more infections which have to be cured. You can automatically reason the fact that biological meat is a lot more expensive. The argument is therefore credible. This argument is also valid because the premise of more space for animals leads to more expensive meat. This argument is also very reliable because it is based upon facts, supported by figures. Second argument in favor. The space they need is very low. Within the Netherlands, there is already very few space for agriculture of crops or livestock. The bioindustry uses very little space compared to biological farming. It has been proven that if we would only use biological farming, we would have to cut down the entire Amazon rainforest in order to keep up the food production as it is now. The argument is credible. I believe this is also a very strong one because these statements are all based upon facts. Next up is the arguments against. First one. Animal welfare is very bad within the bioindustry. The animal welfare is, to be said, very bad within the bioindustry. This is something no one can deny. Animals live tightly packed together and have little to no moving space. They can't perform their natural behavior. Studies shows that pigs spend 60% of their day with rolling in the mud and investigating with their snout and mouth. Chickens have the same sort of curiosity, but small cages are not built for this natural behavior, and so the animals start to indulge their behavior on other animals. They start hurting other animals, and this has led to cutting off pigs' tails and chickens' beak. This is all done without anesthesia. This is the reason why it is a credible, valid and reliable argument, since it is supported by studies with evidence and the reasoning is logical. Second argument against. A very high CO2 emission occur and pollution occur within the bioindustry. Not only the animal welfare is a topic of discussion in the bioindustry, but the past several years the environmental aspect has been even more discussed. Studies from the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, of the United Nations show us that the livestock farming is responsible for 18% of the global CO2 emissions. That's more than the entire transport sector. That's about 13%. This sounds like a good argument against the bioindustry, but it isn't. The FAO inspected all the livestock farming, not just the bioindustry. The FAO would even prefer the bioindustry above biological farming when talking about environmental considerations. It doesn't matter how animal unfriendly the bioindustry is, animals in the bioindustry will produce less CO2 than their biological friends. Therefore, this is not a very credible or valid argument. It is, however, a reliable one, since the research has been done by the FAO, an official part of the United Nations. Third argument against: the diseases can spread very easily. This is a very common thing within the bioindustry. Just look at the Q fever we saw in 2010. People working in the bioindustry and people living near a big livestock farm have a higher chance of possible infection. This possible infection makes this argument a very weak one, since the research from several doctors has never really revealed the presence of a disease such as Q fever in a human. Although it is true that these diseases spread very easily within animals, if a disease starts, either in a mega farm or a small petting zoo, it spreads fast. I still think that this argument is not a very strong one, since the exact role that the bioindustry has in the spreading of these diseases is not very clear to scientists yet. My conclusion: yes, I think we should choose the bioindustry above biological farming, simply because it is a cheap way to serve us the food we need every day, and we don't have enough space on this earth to waste it on less productive ways of producing food. Yet, I still believe that there is a lot of room for improvement. We need to find solutions to keep up the production level the bioindustry has now, but with eye for the animal welfare. It has been proven that this is the only real point of discussion if comparing these two, and improving this will mean improving our entire food production. This was the end of my presentation.